here at 630 66th Street. Yeah, like Brett Musburger. You're looking live at the Los Angeles Raiders. No. All right. Tony, I got to focus. Right.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to our board work session for the month of January. Let me just set the stage for what we're doing today. I'm going to introduce Niagara Falls High School for two presentations contained within their time up here. Then Ray and Maria are going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, which is something that we need to start getting our feet wet on. And then we'll have an agenda review. There's no need for an executive session this evening, and we should be able to move swiftly and smartly through this. So moving forward, I'm going to ask I've invited the Niagara Falls High School team to be here, and I'll let Ms. Filardo do the introduction. And I am going to tell you that, as you know, each Wednesday a different school makes a presentation to us. And they've all been very, 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 very good. I was particularly impressed with one of the tools that Niagara Falls High School has developed. And the reason why I want to show the board and the viewing public is because you take a school that is 420,000 square feet, has 2,000 students, 180 staff, and then 180 faculty, and then another 80 or so staff, and you try to make it as small as you possibly can. What was particularly impressive about the presentation that Ms. Filardo and Mr. Ventry made on behalf of the team recently was how they have data at their fingertips on every single one of their students. You think about that, 2,000 students, 5 administrators, teachers, of course, but I want you to see how they're able to drill into, really focus on the individual student, because we are the largest high school in Western New York. It is a monumental task, and they deserve credit for the way they've moved that school, but it requires individual student attention. That's the first part of the presentation. Secondly, earlier this school year, Mr. Rotella and the team shared with me the number of courses that Niagara Falls High School offers for college credit. I'm going to say the numbers at 62. 62 college courses at Niagara Falls High School. It's an incredible number of courses, and the students don't pay for any of them. You as board members approve a lot of grants, and we are fortunate to have those, but it's something to be proud of. I would venture to say, and I'm not worried about this statement, we probably offer more college classes with a more diverse number of colleges and institutions than any school in Western New York and possibly in New York State. So I just want you to be aware of those two facts. They do tie in because you approve early college money, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to begin by asking Ms. Filardo to kind of introduce it from here, and then she'll call on her team to make the presentation. So first of all, while you're coming up, I wanted to congratulate you. The 5 of you, the faculty, the staff, the students, have had a really, really, really good year. And it's only going to get better from here, but you've really turned a great corner, and I just think you deserve that praise and attention and recognition. So on the whole, right, almost 20 weeks into it, congratulations to our 5 leaders, faculty, staff, but most importantly, congratulations to the students at Niagara Falls High School. They're really falling into great rituals and routines. Ms. Filardo, take it away.
Thank you. And I apologize, I'm feeling a little under the weather, so my voice is a few octaves deeper than it usually is. Luckily, Ed and Brian are going to do the majority of the presenting anyway tonight, because they both have played such large roles in developing our student tracker and our college programs. But thank you for the recognition of the good school year and good start we've had. We've worked hard, staff have worked hard, but like you said, the students are doing well. But most importantly, we thank you all for your support. Anything that we've really asked for, you've allowed us to do and to try. And I think that through constantly kind of evaluating where we're at, we've gotten better and better and better, and we look forward to continuing that. Piggybacking the things we're going to talk about tonight. First, the student tracker. I came to Niagara Falls High School from some smaller schools where we were able to do what we're doing now, but we had a lot fewer kids to do it with, right? And when I came, I thought, how do they keep track of all these kids? And for years, kind of the first few years, really thought hard about that. And luckily, with my experience in other schools and Ed and Brian's technical knowledge of Excel, we've been able to find a way to do it with 2100. So we're very proud of that, and it's really helped us improve that graduation rate. And credit to Mr. Laurie with the college credits that we offer. He often says, and I think we don't always do enough to promote, that this is the true untold story of Niagara Falls High School, the high volume of college credits that we offer to our students. And as Mr. Rotella will talk about tonight, it is not a small percentage of kids who are taking advantage of that either, which I think is even more of a source of pride for us. So if Ed wants to come up and join me first.
That's a very sharp-looking sport coat, too, I may add, Mr. Ventry.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. No, good evening. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity to show you what we've been doing at Niagara Falls High School. And as Mrs. Villardo noted, it is a true team effort. We have it's not just us. I mean, of course, we have to make sure that we're all on task and we're forging forward, but once this is developed, we give a lot of credit to our student support teams. Of course, it starts with our teachers, and then moving on to our school counselors, our psychologists, social workers, deans. They're all involved in this. So without any further ado, we'll get going here with the students, talking about our student support team. We wanted to just kind of lay this out first, and then go to show you our student tracker. So our student support team consists of those I just mentioned, and we do meet about every 5 weeks or so by Alpha. And obviously, as Mr. Laurie noted, over 2,000 students, it is quite a task. So we have to try to determine which students are we gonna need the support, which students are kind of lagging behind a little bit. And we focus on the ABCs, we call it. Attendance, behavior, and coursework. And that's really what the student tracker is all about, okay? We try to simplify it that way. You'll kind of see our coding system once we go there. And within these meetings, we have tiered interventions. So tier 1 is simple check-ins, daily check-ins, weekly check-ins with SST members. All those I mentioned. We develop safety plans in some cases, sometimes BIPs and FBAs, behavior intervention plans. Functional behavior assessments are necessary for students. Sometimes we move to tier 2, which is our PASS. We have another slide about that if we have time, but PASS and AIT are some new interventions that we'll briefly mention, and admin AIT as well. And then of course we move on to tier 3, which is our sometimes is a change of educational program, and we have that slide as well. That was already presented, but we can just throw it up there real quick at the end. So without any further ado, we'll move to the tracker, Mr. Granieri. That was, and we'll kind of show you what that looks like. So what we've done here, and we obviously don't want to display actual student names or student numbers here. So we have just numbered the students randomly from 1 to 2,000 or whatever it is on the left there. If we could zoom out just a little bit, Mr. Granieri, only because I want to, the other, yeah. Great. Okay, and if we could scroll down, no, if we could go back, yeah, sorry. And then should I maybe switch over to that? Yeah, and I could kind of show where I wanted to. No, it's okay. We talked about this. Is this? Oh, wow, very fancy. Okay. All right, so we have this, basically every student listed here, and then there's a color coding, and I'll kind of try to go through this quickly to show you what these things mean. Right now, this is sorted by grade level, which, yeah, you can see the grade level here. These are all our seniors starting right here. Up here at the top are some students who are in our life skills program, and then we go to this kind of beige color here. These are students who are past cohort. So one thing this tracker helps us do is it helps us track students that are to see what cohort they're in, what year they should be graduating, and when they should be graduating. So when they enter Niagara Falls High School, we want to make sure they graduate within 4 years. These students at the top here, we call them grade 13. Okay, these are students who, and these are actual students, we just didn't display their name, but these are actual students who they did not quite make it last year or the year before, and then we track their information here. Some of them are slated for GED, they're just that far behind and all that. But what I want to get to here is our current students. That starts at row 66, and it's all of our seniors. We use these columns here. We're going to start filling these in the next month or so, and actually the next couple weeks. We're going to start filling in information for the seniors and what they need. So that's all here. But what I want to draw your attention to is these green, red, and yellow columns here. This is our data, okay? And this is all updated weekly by one of our excellent secretaries in our main office, Lori. She does a fantastic job updating this for us. I have to give her a shout out whenever I can. This student right here, this column is absences for the last 2 weeks. So this student has 2 absences in the last 2 weeks. This column is absences over the last 10 weeks. This student has 9 absences over the last 10 weeks. This is total absences for the year, this column Q right here. And then we move into coursework. It shows how many courses the student failed. This student is currently failing 1 course, and this column shows how many courses they failed last marking period. So these 3 columns, O, P, and Q, show the attendance. Columns R and S show the coursework and how many courses failed. And then columns T and U will show the students' behavior, which is how many incidents they have. And you can kind of see how it's all color-coded. It's all automatic, too. So once it hits a certain threshold, once that number hits a certain threshold, it will turn yellow. Once it hits another threshold, it will turn red. You can see this student here when we go through our SST, we'd be looking at this column, mostly column S, which is our failures for last marking period. This student failed 9 classes. That means they probably have some courses to make up as well. This student failed 2, and then we have some students in really good standing here. I want to make sure I'm not just kind of over-talking this, Mr. Lurie.
No, so in a snapshot, you can look anybody up at any time,
Yep.
find out what their behavior was this week, the last couple of weeks to the year, how many discipline referrals this week through the year, how many courses they're failing this period and through the year. And by color, it provides the students that need the varying levels of tiered intervention.
Right.
So there's immediate, not so immediate, and kids are doing great that don't need the intervention. On top of those colors, layers the support services.
Right.
And the point I'm impressed with is I could ask about any one of 2,100 students in a second. They could pull it up and let me know where they are. And then the next column, there are other columns
Yep.
to show what they're doing with those students.
Yeah, and that was the next point I wanted to, so this column J right here, it says date of entry. This shows us when the students started 9th grade. So these students here are September 7th, 2021. That means they should be graduates this year in 2025. So because they have 4 years, or 2020, 22,
Right.
23, 24, 25, right? So 2025, these are all of our seniors, so these are students we should make sure they graduate this year.
So anyone that doesn't make it by August counts against our graduation rate.
That's right.
So that 86% that they have gets deducted from by anyone who doesn't make it that's in the 9/7/2021.
That's right.
So we know that's the cohort year they started.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't want to know, unfortunately, who's student, you had one right there, at
Sorry, yep.
student 29, line 591.
Yep.
But What does that mean?
8,300, that's a student who stopped attending, despite a lot of our efforts. They've stopped attending school. That's an 11th grader, and they've gone through some tough times, and they're currently not, just choosing to not attend school, even though they're compulsory age still. And again, we've, not tonight, but we've gone through several interventions to try to prevent this from happening, but unfortunately, sometimes we do have those situations.
So I can pull it up and find out how many 8,300s we have. So I can judge whether we're growing 8,300s or lessening 8,300s.
Yeah.
And I hope the answer is lessening them, but
Yeah,
obviously
definitely.
it happens. Yeah. So can you talk about the blue columns?
Yes, yep, and so that's our data. When we meet for our SST meetings, we update these columns here. So we obviously the dates that we meet and the next review day. ABC, so is the student needs some extra attention with attendance, behavior, or coursework. So we put that A, B, or C in that column there. And Mr. Rotella leads this up with as we go through. And then we assign intervention essentially. We discuss and we decide what's the next intervention needed. So these students, Sanders is one of our counselors. So we say Tier 1 Sanders. That means the counselor, that's our code to say the counselor is doing check-ins with this student. They've, I'm guessing, had some failures at some point. Yeah, so, or this is the student had some attendance issues. And then it looks like they did probably have some failures, but they've gotten better. There's an example right there. They're back in the green. We can see they're back in the green. So when we review this next week, as a matter of fact, we'll say, wow, that that intervention seems to be working because the failures are failing maybe one class. We'll keep it going, and we'll decide, do we want to move to a different tier? We have the AIT, which is our attendance team, on there. Sometimes we assign the PASS, which is our interventionist team, to work with students. This one's unfortunately says start the GED conversation. Yeah, I know we don't love to say that, but that's sometimes where we're at with credits and the student, they're being a senior and their level of commitment at this point. So, we have a little bit of everything on there.
I feel sorry for that student that has intervention SAL after it.
Yeah, was that on there?
I'm worried about that student. SAL, everybody else says SAL. We'll see how that, I've made note of the name and I will follow up with him. But I guess the point is this was developed so that no one falls through the cracks.
That's exactly it.
No one is out there without attention to their needs. Unfortunately, this tends to show kids that we need to intervene with, but I was pleased to see large blocks of green, large blocks of green, which says how many kids are doing very well too. So really the point was to show the board and the public we're following everybody. We're following everybody.
Right, and we did, we realized that we needed something like this. That's why we developed it. We were having a difficult time making sure we had every student in. So it really has helped. Students cannot fall through the cracks. We review them, it pops right up at us, and it really does help us do that. Any questions on this from any of the board members?
Mrs. Dunn has a question.
Yes, Mrs. Dunn.
How do you categorize or define behavior? I see behavior on here. What is that?
Yeah, thank you. It is the number of discipline referrals they have. So we write in Power School, and then we pull that data, dump it into one of the other, you can't see, it's like a hidden sheet there, and it pulls the data right in there for us. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How long has this been going on, this tracking this in this manner?
I believe we've been using this for 3 years. Yeah, I believe this is our third or fourth year. Yeah.
Has the number of red decreased from the time we started using this?
You know what?
Have we gotten more green? You know what? Have
we
gotten more
don't.
green?
We'll get
We
back.
got more green, not like decreasing red. Have we gotten more green out of it?
What I can tell you is we do notice the green increasing as the year goes on. It's tough to say because I think there's always some red at the beginning of the year, and then that's the idea. We identify who those students are, and then we work with them.
Does it,
So-
does it increase as from ninth grader to 10th to 11th to 12th?
We have
Or
found,
is it fairly consistent?
that's a good question. We found that our 10th grade is our struggle right now. It's our biggest struggle, yeah. Yeah, and there's some other data that we pulled from Power School, not necessarily from this, but we were able to see that that is a little bit where our weakness is with 10th grade. And I think, we have our 9th grade teams, and then 10th grade, they get a little bit more freedom. And it's more the first half of the year. I think by the end of the year, we're able to give the support that they need and identify those students better.
But it's
yeah.
a good general statement. First semester of 10th grade year seems to be a new need area.
Yep. Yeah, I really think it's because in 9th grades, we have all students on teams, so a majority of their classes are with the same teachers and in the same hallway. And then in 10th grade, we don't have that. At some point, we have to take the training wheels off a little bit, right? And I think that first 10 weeks or so is a struggle. And yeah, and I think a little bit more freedom, so maybe, maybe not being where they're supposed to be necessarily, not a team of teachers on them to make sure they're, Mrs. Dunn, no, not a good example, but yeah, it's definitely something that we're working towards and putting some more supports in place.
Anything else on this part, Ed?
No, I think that was it on this part. And this just talks about, and I don't want to spend the time on this, but it talks about our intervention teams. And these were interventions that were developed over the last 2 years. We have an attendance team that goes out and basically does home visits and gets kids to come to school who aren't coming to school. Just try to put it in a nutshell there for you in the interest of time. And our PASS, our in-school interventionist team, it's like a small caseload. They have about 20 students each, and they do daily check-ins with students. They support them, they mentor them, they communicate with parents, and sometimes they do home visits as well. So I just wanted to make sure we pointed that we have those in place. And that's what you saw on the student tracker. We assign these sometimes during those SST meetings. Yes. Yeah.
But I think having the track for 3 years has revealed a need for
What interventions? Yeah. Thank you. That's a good point, Mrs. Flardo. So what Ms. Valera was saying is by having the tracker, we've realized we need these interventions. So I believe PASS was added a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and then we realized we're missing something. We need someone to actually go out and get these students to come to school, because attendance was something that we were really struggling with last year, and students just not coming to school for long periods of time. Of course, phone calls, only could do so much. So we do have these with this team of team of staff we've hired to identify barriers and determine why students aren't coming to school and get them to return.
Could you, the only other bullet I wanted you to talk about on this was the last bullet, because I think this is really important.
Yep.
There's 35 students that have probably solid red, okay? And could you talk about what?
Sure, yeah.
Here?
So when it said currently 70 students on active caseloads, we've transitioned students on and off, and again, we review at those meetings. So about 35 students at the bottom there have come off of the AIT, and some of those for positives and some just not being successful. So there's the breakdown there. 24 of those students we were able to re-engage in school. So that's 35 students who last year, without this intervention, without this AIT intervention team, that we're hoping you approve later this month to continue, those 24 students may not have re-engaged in school. So we believe that this intervention has been successful in re-engaging those 24 students. Unfortunately, they're 11, 9 are in 8,300. That means they're still not attending. It's just a code we have to use. Internally, we have to call it 8,300, and it just means that students aren't engaging in school, even though they're supposed to be because they're compulsory age. And the 2 are referred to GED. They're probably seniors who are extremely low on credits. If an 18-year-old has 2 credits and they need 22 to graduate, it becomes a little bit unrealistic to get the diploma at that point. We're talking probably 3 more years and they'd be 21 at that point.
When the graduation rate was 66%, you could have multiplied those numbers by 10. It was really the first area of attack was to have interventions that dropped those numbers so that 90 weren't 8,300 and 20 weren't at GED. Those are not there, and anytime a student goes to GED, I have to approve it. So I need to know. I'm the ultimate gatekeeper, and they've got to make their case. Because even if they're out of cohort year, right? Even if they don't get in that 4-year cohort year, they used to go to GED, and it would be out of sight, out of mind, and we never know what would happen to them, and you know what was happening to them. They weren't doing anything. So these are extreme cases that we allowed to transition to GED. You can see the numbers 2. I don't think that's many, but Cheryl will make her case to me, and I'll say yes or no. And we've put a real gatekeeping system on that procedure. And Ed's right. You're 18 or 19 years old with 2 credits.
Yeah.
You're in a hole that can't be dug out of.
And they can't sit for the exam until they graduate anyway, until their cohort would have graduated.
Right.
So a lot of times it's a formality to put them in power school as GED, but they may come back. They could still come back.
And sometimes that's a fight with the parent.
Yeah.
Because we're on the parent, and the parent says, just let them go to GED.
Yeah.
And we say, no, we'll try this, until finally we relent for what turns out to be the ultimate benefit of the student.
We hold meetings all year long like that, Mr. Lurie. Yes, yes, sir.
Did you have a tier, and they've seen this?
They've seen this, but this is the tier 3. This is the tier 3 different programs that we offer, and that's, again, we do that through SST as well.
So this is, I think we talked about this, I know we talked about this. Remember when we said one alternative school? We have 9 alternative schools. These are alternative programs. They're 9. It's not just one. Depending on what your need is, and you can see under the attributes of the learner, that's the alternative program you go into. So we have one, we have Big Picture, which I know is going very well this year, but we also have 8 others that you can see on the screen. So that's how the tiers are layered. Good job, Ed.
Questions about the track or anything? Otherwise, I'll turn it over. Oh, yes, sir.
Attendance is always comes up. Attendance.
Yeah.
What is the state's position on attendance?
Required for students. No, I didn't mean it in a certain way.
Sorry. Is there anything they put the pressure on the parents? I mean, if they're on social services, do they get cut off?
No, unfortunately, no.
But they sit here and moan and groan and complain
Yeah.
that they got to go to school, don't do
we-
anything about it.
We really don't get support from state on that.
No.
It's up. Yeah, carrots and Mott's sticks? Knots, okay, not sticks.
Carrots
Got it.
meaning we have to incentivize them.
Got it.
Not hit them with it. I think that's what Mrs. Villardo
Yeah,
was trying to
we
get
do,
out.
and those are the things that we try to do, but there's no hammer from the
no hammer,
state.
okay.
There's no hammer, I think that's what you're asking.
Mr. Petrosi, you did help, the board did help when you raised the compulsory age to 17.
That's right.
Do you remember this? I don't know the answer to this, and they tell you never to answer. Have you seen, do you have an opinion on that?
It definitely gives us a little bit more of a hammer to say they have to be in school. They have to be in school, because they do, right? That's
Right.
our policy now.
The old age was 16, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
So-
approved the policy
Yeah.
change.
No, I remember when we did it,
Yeah.
not long ago.
So, I mean, in some cases, it does help, yes. I don't want to stand here and say it's been a game changer yet, but it certainly is for some individuals. So any one student we save and get them a diploma, that's one more graduate, right?
Right.
That's
right.
That's what we're trying to do, one by one.
Good job, Ed.
Yeah, thank you.
Where did you get the sport coat?
I'm
I'm
not sure, to
kidding.
be honest with you.
I'm kidding. The second part of the presentation,
Mr. Otella.
Mr. Rotella is going to take you through.
Maybe you got it at old Sam Paul Menswear. Pine Avenue.
Sam Paul. What was the place that burned down?
there a step
where
I could
Arby's
stand?
is? Robert Hall.
Yes.
I got lost in Robert, just for the viewing audience while Mr. Rotella is getting ready.
Burned down during the blizzard.
Yeah, it did. I got lost at Robert Hall. My mother had to have me paged. I was stuck in one of the clothing racks, Russ. I was 7,
Hide in the clothes.
but I remember I got stuck in a clothing rack and my mother couldn't find me. So as we transitioned from that story about my youth to the college courses, Mr. Rotella, could you lead us in this?
Yep. So we are fortunate enough to have 62 college credit-bearing courses. We have 7 that are actually college credit only, where our students actually, or excuse me, 9 that actually they go to campus. So we have students going to NU and students going to the Culinary Institute to actually take classes with college students. Of the 62 classes, we have various college partners. We have Villa Maria, we have Buff State, we have Niagara University, we have SUNY Niagara, we have classes through AP College Board, we have Bryant and Stratton, and also one of our newest partners is Stanford. As of today, go to the next one. As of today, or as of first semester, when we did our snapshot, we had over 600 students that were taking at least one college credit. Of our 10th graders, we had 22% of our 10th graders that were taking at least one college credit. We had 47% 11th graders and 41% of our 12th graders were taking at least one college credit. So that's a non-duplicated count. As of the spring semester, just as of today, we had a conversation. We're going to have 3 additional courses offered. And as far as the 25-26 year, we had another conversation with SUNY Niagara that 3 additional courses might raise significantly, as we have some other ideas with our trades program. Courses are taught by either the university or college professor. They come to campus or they Zoom in, or we have staff approved by the university, or we have a combination of both, where the teacher one of our staff members teaches the class the majority of the week, but then we also have a college staff member come in and work with them as well. Through our Pathway initiative, we have every student can take almost about a semester of college at Niagara Falls High School. So 11th and 12th graders selecting one of our pathways. The majority of our pathways have quite a few college offerings. It's not uncommon for students to come back to us after they graduated and tell us that they've gotten a year or even 2 years under their belt at Niagara Falls High School and graduating early. And these courses are accepted nationwide. These are all accredited universities. And it's one of the shining things at Niagara Falls High School, one of the many that I don't think recognize enough.
So there's a diversity of offerings too. This is not just, I see AP Calculus.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a diversity of offerings, from sports communication to AP English Lit to disability awareness. I think I like the range of courses that fits into our. Can you talk about how that fits into our pathways?
Sure. So as we talked about, all of our pathways are geared towards students' career interests in mind. So we focus on courses that focus on computer science to courses that focus on business, and we have students who are interested in the musical and theater arts, so we have college courses in that as well. We're constantly looking at and talking to our college partners, business partners, and people in the community on what our students need to be successful and get a step forward from everyone else. So that's how we design our college coursework and who we partner with. So in addition to this, our next step is also creating industry certifications for when they leave.
Right, that's the next layer to put on this, industry certifications. All of the OSHA 10 to whatever else you do needs to be included on this ability to gain credits or certificate.
Yeah.
It's good. No, it's good. I just think that the board, who again tonight we're going to ask you to approve 2 more. It's 2 sections of a sociology 303 course.
So that'll be one of the 3. So we have a current and introduction to sociology they took this fall. It was so successful with Niagara University, our students were interested in doing more. So what we're able to do is add an additional 3 credits to that course. So they're taking one high school full year, one high school course, and they're going to get 6 college credits from that, which is pretty exciting. Also, our entrepreneurship with our partners with the Marani Group in Niagara University. Ms. Villardo and I have been fortunate enough to have great conversations with them, which we're finalizing our internship. So our students will be working in local hotels, receiving internships through the hospitality program at Niagara University, and that's one of the 3 that we're finalizing.
I'm really proud of what you've done. I'm proud of the board for their support of this. It's great for kids. It's value added for parents. It's value added for kids. It gives them something meaningful to do in often challenging attendance-wise 12th grade year, and it's really the untold story of Niagara Falls High School. And the other thing I know if we looked at a chart, we started at 20 and went to 40 to 45. I can't keep up. We're at 62 and counting. So it's limitless where we can go with this, and it's made high school much more relevant, valuable, and current for kids. Questions, Mr. Bass? How many did you have, Mr. Bass? A lot?
I couldn't. If I did, I would have my degree. But yeah, if I could afford to pay for those back then.
We would have paid for them.
Yeah, I should have asked you. We talked about that when I was in high school. I should have asked you, and I'd have my degree already. But the reason why I was looking at some of these codes, and I realized that these are probably ours, as opposed to the different universities. But looking at some of these classes, particular like the AP Calculus and whatnot, being a former bio major, I mean, I'm like less than 8 credits shy of my bachelor's.
Come on over. We'll cover it for you.
Calculus is one of the reasons why I don't. Calc 2 is the reason why I don't have my degree.
Yeah.
It was Penn State makes you take engineering-based calculus.
Yep.
Even though I was a bio major, and it just really whooped me. That is really why I don't have my degree, because that class I just struggled through it. As a student that has been there, are we really? I would hope. I'm sure that you do, but please kind of push the importance that with our students that if they do these things now, they won't have to end up like me.
Yes, absolutely, and that's really what's important about the pathways. So we all as an admin team and with department leaders, we look at, let's say, an engineering pathway, and we select all the courses they need to take in 11th, 12th grade to get a taste of what it's like to be in that engineering field or engineering educational program, and those are the classes that are in there. And so we do that to prepare them for that type of situation. We want them to get grounded in calculus, and hopefully that's enough that'll satisfy the calculus credit at the college or university. Now, we know sometimes they don't. Some Penn State might not have. Excuse me, SUNY Niagara's calculus program is a direct equivalent. Well, that's great, because we, as we know, every college and as far as what they accept and don't accept, and that's really the good work of our counselors talking to the colleges and universities, and with our department chairs talking to students and also making sure that they're well prepared. Mr. White, who teaches that calculus class, stays after, comes in early, does whatever he needs to make sure those students have a very strong foundation in that subject.
Yeah, because
I'll disagree with you, Earl. I do hope they turn out like you. I know you didn't mean
I
it that
mean,
way. I do hope they turn out like you.
I'm okay, but I would rather have that.
Your point's well taken.
Yeah.
Do it now. Take advantage of it. You've got. He referenced a teacher. You've got a teacher willing to come in the morning and at night. It's a lot different now than it will be when you're in your third year or second year of college.
Yeah, because I mean, I had Mr. White one year. He's a good teacher, but as someone, like I really hope that they understand the opportunity that's being presented to them, because I would have graduated 10 years ago if it wasn't for that. I'm not ashamed to say that it really whooped me. Like I mean, I had a teacher come in. She's like, look to your left, look to your right. 40 to 60% of my class fails every semester. And
There's an uplifting
Confidence.
comment.
That's a confidence booster.
Day one.
And so, you know, I
that positive
struggled through that
psychology.
class. I flunked it.
Yep.
I dropped it. Tried again the next semester with a different teacher. He got in a car accident, and guess who was a replacement?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, look to your
I'm
left.
like-
Mr. Look to your left, look to your right.
Well, I can't tell you just by our numbers, like I said, 47% of our 11th graders, 42% of our 12th graders taking these college courses. I think our counselors in there are starting to understand that this is a great opportunity that they're taking advantage of. Stats.
I've heard up to 60. I don't know, do you know what the record is? I spoke to a girl who had 62 last year.
Yeah, that's about the record. I think of Mr. Wagner's son, David. David was up there too. He graduated in 2 years. What's it? From UB. Yeah, I mean, so it's there. Yeah, so 60s. I think 62 is probably the record. But we also try to make sure our students understand to enjoy high school life a little bit. Some of our students who are very ambitious and very driven, they lose out on some of the cool opportunities that we also have there, like the plays and the theaters and things like that, because they're so driven to get as many college
Earl
credits
excelled
as
in those things.
Earl was
Hey, that's what
the
it-
opposite, right? Yeah, Mr. Bass was the opposite. Yeah.
I mean,
But with
I
that
was-
angelic voice, how could we not?
It
want you
just
to
was
do that.
calculus. Just was my Achilles heel, and Calc 2 in particular.
Well, Ventry's a.
We have a great tutor,
Aren't you a math
yes.
teacher, Ventry?
Well, he still is, because you'll see towards June regions, he'll have kids in his office, and they're scribbling notes and stuff. It looks like just hieroglyphics to me. But
My
he's-
daughter's favorite
he's have
teacher. I
kids.
ask her all the time if it was okay. But it was her favorite teacher.
Great teacher, great administrator.
Yeah, just because of his support code. Tony, you got a question?
Yeah, the question, or the statement you made earlier was about you have some SUNY Niagara stuff working with the trades that are coming, up and coming. What is that exactly?
Well, I mean, we've started meeting with Tammy Bruno from SUNY Niagara, and we're trying to strengthen our relationship with our trades program and their industrial arts program at SUNY Niagara. It's still very preliminary, very new, but as they've been on part of our conversation with all our construction trades meetings, we're just continuing to try to strengthen that program and give them opportunities.
Have we ever thought about, have we ever thought about like doing something like, when you go, like say you take night classes at BOCES, I've looked at the paperwork and stuff like that years and years ago. And it's similar to what it is now. When, like, you ever thought about like putting on a class like Beginning to Electronics 1 or, something like that where, or,
For adults or students?
Students.
Students?
For students. Beginning pipe fitting 1 or something, and follow some kind of a format like that where, it's a 20-week or 15-week class or whatever it is per hour. I don't have figures in front of me.
Sure.
But we ever thought about putting that on and see if we can get interest in it?
Well, I can tell you that as far as during the day, that is what our construction trades class is. It's not just one general construction. It's different units about the different samplings. As far as at night, that would be something we could definitely explore. But we'd have to look at recruitment and things like that and getting the staff. And, we know an electrician that'll do it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially at night, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I think for us to take this thing to another level, and we've talked a very long time about it for a few years now, and take this thing to amp it up and take it to a couple of notches, we may have to, I think we have to look at something like, at least look at it and see if it's feasible and we can afford it, and then, of course, the big thing is getting interest.
Yeah.
And because this way, if they could take some of their, instead of 5 years to become a journeyman electrician, that's 8,000 hours OJT, maybe we could get it so that they'll take it, like the NECA is the Electrical Contractors Association, and they put on stuff. If we can maybe take a little small piece of that, see if we can get 10, 15 kids to go through it, and it might knock off some of their time on their journeymanship,
apprentice side. Well,
just like we're doing with the college.
We did have a few years ago a conversation with the Department of Labor.
Right.
Right now, I think and I don't think the legislation's changed, is that the requirements to be in an apprentice program. That's why all of our programs, we call them pre-apprentice.
Yeah.
Because I think it doesn't allow us to have them be apprentice yet. I know we've had some conversation with some of our union partners who have said they're willing to count our class up to a certain amount of hours as work experience, which will give them an increase in pay while they're in their apprentice program. But I don't think it's allowed, I don't think yet, maybe there's some goals ahead to satisfy the legislation to make that count as hours in an apprentice program.
Isn't this something like, something like, going back when I was in school, like print shop, and we had electric shop, mechanical shop, or machine shop.
Yeah.
You look at the same
Right.
venue, but
We had Trot. What Trot would do, because some of my friends in the hall went to Trot, and and they got their, 10th, 11th, and 12th, they took to the electrical classes and electronics, and then they were able to get slotted into the apprenticeship. And it increased their chances of passing the apprenticeship, because it gets kind of rigorous when you get into the electronics end of it.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
I'm just trying to maybe see if we can throw something around. If we got to do the legislative thing, we can always make a few phone calls.
No, we were, just to kind of wrap this together, Brian is right. We were talking to the Department of Labor at one time about lowering that age.
Yep.
And we need to get back to that conversation. Secondly, because I think it's important, this is a great representation of college courses. The next presentation will have a slash, what did you call it?
Industry-based certification.
Industry-based certifications. And because what I want everyone to see, you've heard us talk about, is in 1984, I did not close trot. Okay, I didn't. People think I did. I was a spry college senior at that time, but I didn't close trot. At the time, that's the way the state was guiding it. Bad decision, in my opinion. Bad decision. But things have come around full circle. We've had, as a board, we've had this conversation for years and years. To open a building like that isn't wise use of money because of all the costs to maintain the building. What is a wise use of taxpayer money and school interest is to use the existing facilities, union halls, shops that are there, and to take our kids and teach them there with our teachers working with a tradesperson. So I think we've done a good job of that.
Yeah. Because of all of you, Trot is our community now. Like that's where our classrooms, the
Trot's
community.
everywhere.
We're building stuff in the community, which
Right.
I can't tell you how proud our students are when they drive by Hyde Park and they see what they've done there, or behind on the side of our high school, the pergolas and stuff. They see it every day now, and the other students.
And the interesting call that we received, it wasn't private, I could tell them, is the people at the NAC, the old high school, I think I sent this to you,
Yep.
Brian, saw that. It said, can we get your kids to come and work over here at the NAC?
We're meeting with them in 2 weeks.
Okay, so there's some minor renovation that our kids will do under the direction of tradespeople and our teacher, Mr. Rajak, and work at the NAC. The point is, our work is gaining momentum.
Yes.
And to get to the next level is doing what you're suggesting we need to do. But those visual representations of this coursework have really helped spearhead bigger enrollment and more people asking for our kids. So it's really quite gratifying. I will tell you that this college programming presentation and the industrial trades presentation that we spoke about are woven into the red-green, the ABC presentation that Mr. Ventry did. The way, and I think this is where Mrs. Velardo was going with the carrot and stick, the way to get kids to get from red to green on attendance and behavior is by doing this.
Yeah.
So they're really tied together as one program. And I don't want that nuance lost in the presentation, but it's that and a lot of other things, but they are one thing. So I just thought that this presentation they made to us, our team, was outstanding. They should be proud of it. I'm proud of the kids that are in it, and especially the parents who have supported their kids, because these aren't easy classes. As Mr. Bass noted, these are not easy classes. These are not cupcake basket weaving classes. These are challenging college classes. And when you talk about brain development, 15, 16-year-old kids are in a different place than 20, 21-year-olds, and we're putting it on our kids. But if you don't raise that expectation, our kids won't come to it. So we got to keep raising it. I want to thank you for the presentation. I do want to challenge you publicly on something for a near meeting, and something that the high school team has to do, and it's timely just in terms of policies, because we're going to talk about a policy next, is as of July 1st, the Board of Education is required to seat a student representative. So we need to have a conversation. It's a regulation, it's a New York State regulation. So I'm sure the board would have no problem throwing this back to you, Mrs. Velardo and team, to establish the process with which you are going to select one student representative to sit on the board. So what we'll need for you the next time you come is to talk to the board about a process of how you're going to go about it. There are multiple pathways you can do. Students will have to probably apply to want to be here. The student then is sworn in. I think we do it officially like that way, but to meet the regulation, they're sworn in. They sit at the board table. Of course, they don't have voting powers, but they sit with us and ask questions and work with the board. They don't have executive session powers as well. But I do want to throw that challenge out to you, foreshadowing the next time we're going to ask you to come here to start thinking about that process, because July 2nd, which I think is our reorg meeting, you're going to blink your eyes and we're going to finish graduation and we're going to need to have that student or representative here. So I would put that task to you. I would thank you very much for your hard work. Continued good work. I will say this, I'm going to say it because not one fight at the high school in the month of December, not one. I mean, and that, that sounds like, oh wow, you're surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I don't expect anything but that. But it speaks not just to the structure and organization, but what really drives discipline is curriculum and instruction. That's what drives discipline. So I want to just end your presentation on that note. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for your support.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Our next presentation, I'm going to call on Ray Ranieri to make and give him a little lead in. I don't know if Maria's going to join you, Ray, or you're going to keep her in the bullpen. You can, okay. I want to tell you that we need to begin addressing this, and that is artificial intelligence. And Ray found this little comic strip that I think is really telling about how, at least I feel, we could put our head in the sand and pretend artificial intelligence isn't coming, or we can realize and recognize that we have a responsibility as educators to provide digital literacy skills. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be called artificial intelligence. It should be called digital literacy skills. Districts have begun to adopt policies. We're going to put a policy before you for vote in 2 weeks. I would certainly ask you to table it so that if there's commentary that needs to happen, it happens. But we have to start getting in this realm. And Ray, leading the technology committee, has done a really nice job of starting to bring in groups like BOCES and college professors and colleges to see how they're handling it and to help lead us in this artificial intelligence policy, which I really wish was called the digital literacy skills. I guess I didn't realize till I thought about it or was told today how many things that we do on a daily basis, from the brake system in your car to the scanning device that you walk through to whatever else, already involves artificial intelligence. So I think our goal is to put the guardrails in the right place for students and not to have it too narrow and tight so that they can't learn, but not to have it too wide because we're dealing with kids that are, young people. So Ray, I asked Ray to help articulate an artificial intelligence policy for you to begin to digest with a little bit of background. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to start off with just a short conversation, mainly for some context. It's easy to talk about exciting use and what content comes with it, but there's many challenges, and these challenges are kind of the reason why, through the technology committee, we've had not difficulty, but the kind of minute we think we have our hands around this and where we want to go, it can change drastically. And we actually learned a few things today in our technology committee from Niagara University that kind of proved that to be true. So next I wanted to really talk about some strategies and some experiences we have to balance the realities of where AI is Finally, the introduction of Policy 5840, where we're integrating, Maria Massaro helped me to go through the policy, what we can change, what we can't change, and we're integrating the pieces on our policy for how we want to handle artificial intelligence, and then lastly, next steps. So the first piece is it's a framework for education-based benefits. And I can tell you, I like to come into work on Saturdays sometimes just to have that vacuum time, especially when it can maybe be for a little bit of fun. So I sat down last Saturday and I started, okay, I'm gonna really get some nice examples for the board to talk about how we can use artificial intelligence. Started around 10 o'clock. I looked up, it was 2 o'clock, and I had probably 5 hours worth of materials because it's really exciting, the places you can go. There's all sorts of examples. So then I decided to switch gears a little bit, and I employed AI to say, can you give me 10 reasons why should teachers, how they can use artificial intelligence in the classroom? And these were the answers. Again, a lot of really, maybe not so much exciting use, not flash, but where you can bring these 10 steps is really engaging. And it can also kind of hit some points that require a little more discussion. One of them being teacher use, Dr. Rossi brought up today, was the efficient grading piece. That's a little bit controversial at the NU level because how much do you want to employ or power AI to come up with the end game for a student? Other pieces like professional development could bring into great places. And the real-time assistance is another kind of bullet point where it's gaining attention because how much do you want a chatbot to be involved in classroom instruction? Same kind of question can be for administrator use of AI. And one of the points that was discussed today it's the predictive analysis. So the ChatGPT and some of the other tools, it's based on predictive analysis or analytics, is almost taking a little back seat now. That's what we kind of learned today, is because predictive doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. So, these I just wanted to kind of bring this up, not flash, but just to give you a little bit of flavor of what AI could do. It's certainly not exciting, but at this particular slides, but I can tell you it's here to stay. It's not it's not new. I'm kind of calling it an emergent technology, so I want to talk about it in a minute or two. It's not really emerging, it's just really super changing. So it leads me to this slide. This is an industry-based on the left that talked about how industry now, one of the tools within artificial intelligence, and this is how they're trying to explain it, and how they're trying to explain it is the continuous change must equal continuous attention to use and management. And if you look at that little display, I mean, that goes against a lot of traditional technology-based flow charting or instructions, but that's kind of where we're at. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to employ the best use of it. A little bit more background, can talk about regulation and management. And again, this may be a little bit on the bad side, still developing again. It can provide avenues for exposure to data links. It can be rushed and used inappropriately. Not that that's not new. I remember Mrs. Rotella, she's still here, and I looked to Mrs. Buckman a little bit, because right now we're experiencing, it's not pure artificial intelligence, but it's an example of emergent technology, is when a vendor rushes into functionality, it tends to skip things like regulation, management, and responsibility. And we're in the midst of something now, we're on a 3-month kind of struggle to get to a good spot. The problem with AI is it gets you to a bad spot worse if it's not done appropriately. Another piece that we can talk about, and I think we had a really interesting conversation, because one of my personal things about AI is the lack of collateral knowledge builds. That's one of the things that always struck me. And the example I used today is I use superintendent, maybe Rick Carell and I as an example, is in the 80s when we're sitting in college and we have a paper to do. I'm a computer science major, the humanities, and I go to my old friend, Mr. Dewey Decimal System at the library, and I spend 6 hours, and I learn in that manner. Today with AI, you can get to the same end game in about 15 minutes with different ways of prompting. the conversation that made me feel a little bit better and provided us a little more direction is the tools that are built within AI, and I'll talk about that a little bit, that really can bring you to collateral knowledge builds, depth of learning, some of the traditional things that we get, traditional from the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, if it's used in the appropriate manner. If it's not used in the appropriate manner with bad form, you can get into things, hallucinations, dirty code, they can get you to bad spots. Sure. Yeah.
Can you take me back to elaborate on hallucinations? I'm assuming dirty code is what it means, or dirty code.
Yeah.
Hallucinations, how does that pertain to this presentation? Or what's an example of hallucination of using ChatGPT?
Because well, ChatGPT is a predictive tool, so it's based on predictions, almost analytics, almost percentages, and that's how it moves forwards and learns. AI in its core and its form, it learns from itself and goes out, gets a little smarter, comes back, spins from what it's learned, spins from what it's learned. So if you start to go south, or if you start to garner some inappropriate information, you can lead to a hallucination, where you can start to go down the path where it's wrong. No one is there to stop it. Exactly. Yes.
It's like machine learning.
Yes.
It's like what, I'm sorry, it's like what, Rob?
Machine learning, is it the correct term?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of leads to code. Code generators have been around forever. When I started off, there's code generators, right? You can develop, and you have a choice to make. The choice is you let a code generator, and I'm talking about whole COBOL in the mainframe. It will produce code to do a specific function. And I almost thought about it, but where do you find Greenbar anymore? But when you have a code-generated computer program, you have Greenbar that's about that thick, because it has all sorts of different inefficient code that could lead to spaghetti code because it's not fine-tuned. So.
And let me tell you, after the conversation that Ray and I and Mrs. Villardo and Mr. Rotella were yesterday, our kids at Niagara Falls High School think they know a lot about this. And they sometimes could be taken down a hallucinogenic road because they're using it. And they know. And if we don't start talking about it and put some rails on there, and I'm not talking about tight rails, but some parameters, this is going to be the wicked stepsister of social media. So I think we have to be, I think it has the potential to do that.
You don't gain any depth of knowledge sometimes if it's used inappropriately. If you don't put it as a learning tool with policy and process and some of the things that Dr. Rossi talked about today. If you don't have that fidelity and use a step-by so you understand it, you're going to end up with a very narrow framework of knowledge.
Yeah. So I just want to say one thing about our kids and our teachers. Because we could be thinking, and I know my son's a 7th grade English teacher. He's already running into this as a teacher. He's wondering how, he's questioning how if this is their writing, if they've used ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is. And the only thing I could tell him is there's 2 ways to defeat that. One, you've got to know your kids, right? We get our kids for 186 days. We should know them. We know where they're at. By knowing your kids, you can know if something comes that's way out of left field, right? That could be a sign, even though you can't accuse anyone of that, but you can delve deeper. The second statement, and Rick was talking about this morning, is that you could keep prompting kids with different prompts, as you call them, Rick, to force the conversation to show more and to show more and to show more. So I think two of the staff development techniques that we have to really enforce are, you've got to know your kids, and you've got to know how to prompt them through what could discern whether it's done through AI or not. Is that accurate?
Well, can I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
I think an interesting thing as a parent, and I would think as an educator, I'm of the, this is just my mindset. I don't speak for anybody. This is just not a board comment. But to your point, Ray, it's not going anywhere. If anything, it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. So for me, when it first started, I always thought of it as there are going to be people that are going to use it, and they're going to be, they're not going to gain from it long-term. You'll make short-term gains, and those short-term gains could be maybe you advance in the business that you're in because you seem a little smarter or you get your work done a little faster. But the learning component of being able to do it is not going to give you that long-term growth, right? Then there'll be the other side of it where those that are using it to ask questions and learn from that as a teaching model, and then taking that information and then growing, along with it, is really the valuable part of it, right? Whether it's coding, Ray, right? Like, hey, I need to write me a Python code for this, right? And then if you don't just copy and paste it, but you learn how that happened, there's so much greater good for it. But I will tell you this, and I'll try to keep it brief because I know you want to keep going, but this is just so interesting because if this is the approach that we're going to take as a district of finding out how we can teach the children to use it the right way, maybe teach with it the right way, the sky is the limit, because you said something I'd never thought of before, right? So I use it often in business because it's very helpful and I feel like I have a good handle on how to use it. However, one thing I never thought about was this hallucination aspect. For anybody in the room or watching that uses ChatGPT as an example, it has a memory, but I never thought that if you continue to feed that memory, how can I say this in a respectful way? If I don't know what I'm doing, I'll use me as an example. If I have no clue what I'm doing, but I think I know what I'm doing, and I've been using it for 2 years, it's going to continue to pump out what it thinks based on what I'm feeding it, right? So I think, in summary, this approach, if this is how we're going to go, where we're going to educate teachers on how to use it properly and have the students use it properly, we're only feeding the younger kids who are going to use it knowledge to have that memory filled up with the right things as opposed to the hallucinations, right? Is that kind of where we're
So the
going?
presentation's over because that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, we are done. That's exactly where we're
Your
headed.
presentation
That's
was,
where we're
your
going.
presentation was so good, I got it in 2 slides.
Yeah, that's
Where we're going, Rob.
Yeah.
And we deal with younger people, so we've got to make sure that they understand, without using the term hallucination, of course, I'm sure, but they have to understand the pitfalls of it and where it could take you. But if we choose to, slide one, bury our heads, we are not preparing the digital citizen that this district needs to turn out. So I think your soliloquy, which was very good, is right on the mark, and that's where we want to go as a district.
I think it's awesome. Kudos to you guys.
I don't know how it does. Now, could I put in dry clean my shirts for a low price? Would that work?
I hope it goes the right way.
Sorry, Russ. No, go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
So with those challenges, exactly on Mr. Bilson, what we've done is the past couple of years, actually gathering resources. And one of the resources we're doing is Area 1 BOCES. And just kind of the flavor of where that presentation went, it really provided tools on categorization of the IEM experience, and it's more of talked about a guarded approach versus an open approach and benefits. And their presentation really started to try to draw us into a very guarded and cautious and planned use. That was Area 1 BOCES.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I don't think, you call it guarded, I call it stifling.
Yeah.
I call it stifling. I'm not going there. It's not going to be, here's my mind, how my mind works. It's not going to be stifling, but it's not going to be a free-for-all either, right? It's going to be a purposeful, intentional policy that helps kids learn from it, not just generate predictability from it. That's the stance I would like to take, but I want to air this out here at this meeting in public in front of you so that you know where we are thinking as leaders of this plan, because our kids are using it. Some of them are using it, and they're going down already a road of feeding their own thought into it, and it's not taking them exactly where we want to take them.
What's the exact definition of what are examples of guarded versus open in this particular Erie one places?
Guarded, there are a lot of instruction, a lot of training, which is where we're leading with our policy as well. But it's more on discounting an open use. It's more of like a direct kind of use. Actually, there was some examples. I took out one or two, but an open-ended use would be more like a ChatGPT. It's here you go. It's more like a predictive analysis. It's more like prompting, where you don't have a specific question or a specific task or a specific end. Guarded is more so like it's assistive technology, where you're looking for text-to-speech or something where it's a particular purpose. There's a components of AI on it, but not as sophisticated or open as something like a ChatGPT or prompting.
Or it's programmed to only provide certain
Yes.
responses?
It has a certain task. It's more of a channeled or guarded or funneled task. And you see that more in embedded technology. You see that now even in Word, Windows 11. They're embedding components of AI, but it's for a specific task, not for how do I stop the run against the Denver Broncos.
Is Copilot like that?
Yes, yeah.
Copilot would be guarded?
I would say it's a little bit of mix. We're just actually waiting, once our policy is approved, we have official license. Yeah, it's the, yes. So if you're using the bundled version of Microsoft, it comes with a built-in piece of Copilot. We have a licensed version, just waiting for the policy to be approved, and we're going to start engaging. Mr. Corella has used embedded AI. He was at ISTE, which I'll talk about in a minute, where it's a little bit of a hybrid of open versus guarded.
Let's go ahead.
So today and previously, we engaged Niagara University, and they really took the opposite, not opposite, but definitely a different approach. Yeah. It's attentional training. You have to embrace this technology. We have students coming ready, trained and ready to use AI. She called it, Dr. Rossi called it moderate use today, which is leaning a little bit more on a guarded perspective, but it really was two good conversations because everyone, and again, they were both excellent presentations and a good knowledge share to us, but different perspective on how they want to be, how it wants to be used. And it helped us, again, to lead to the policy, which I'll explain in a little bit. Moving forward, we have Dr. Brian Graham, Superintendent of Schools at Grand Island, and they've definitely, not to put words in his mouth, but I think his is a little bit more of an open, a little bit more of aggressive flavor to it. So a few other things, gathering resources. We go to the ISTE convention. I went 2 years ago. Mr. Corella went last year, and some other staff. It's really a playground of AI vendors and software. Sandbox Access, what they do is they give you limited access to tools. So everyone's willing to share those kind of things, and it's really the varieties of AI experiences on display there. The Technology Committee, it's been an agenda item for several years. We have done some initial exposures and training events through the Teacher Resource Center. The Technology Committee was the group that put together the policy reviews with Mrs. Massaro's help, what we're going to be presenting today. And we're always going to have conversations, because it has to be conversations because it's just changing every day, and you have to have an approach of continuous improvement and look. So when we get into policy 5840, it was really kind of two general roads that we can take. It was policy, and the first one was something that we really didn't really consider, and it was guarded really to a very high level. The policy language offered no student use of AI. The staff use was allowed, but ultimately it kind of put the responsibility of all employment of AI with staff, instructional staff, all staff. So we kind of discounted that quickly. The second path, which is a recommended path in the policy, we're outlining responsible use of AI for staff and students. And there's really two components to that. The first component is all about planned use, and it has to emphasize providing resources and a commitment to training. And this is just kind of a list of what we're going through of how we're going to build this. We've had a little bit of it in play right now, but we're building all sorts of support systems to get to a spot where we're using the right tools the right way. And a few training concepts in place, and I gleaned these out of the presentations that we have. It's understanding the tool, 7 ways as an example to use ChatGPT, which we learned today, may or not be the predictive tool we want to use. One of the more kind of exciting functions of AI is the art of prompting. Mr. Corella had a nice example of what he learned in his ISTE this year, and Dr. Rossi today really kind of described how the quality conversations, that's really where you can get it to a moderate to open use of AI intelligence that also drives into that collateral learning that I've been kind of stuck on. And to Mr. Bilson's point, we are going to employ Microsoft Copilot AI for the workplace. That'll get us to the next level other than just embedded. Lastly, there still has to be, I probably shouldn't have used the word guarded, but we still have to have some means to make sure we stay on an approved path. And this is not just related to AI, but it's very related to any piece of software we use. It has to be approved by the technology committee. We have to have contractual contracts in place, and we have to be able to support it. So we do use 2 tools. It's an app locker. So if you're gonna, in our system, and it does work, and it does pop up occasionally where someone finds a way to use a piece of software that's not approved or not appropriate. And then by law, we have to use content filtering, which is IBOSS. And IBOSS is a piece of software that uses categorized allow software. So this will be how we'll use kind of make sure we stay on the rails. So next step, I'm asking for the adoption of policy 5840, and I could share with you and have your trust, I hope, that we will continuous improvement as a strategy in any sort of event. So our end game is embracing thoughtful, intentional, and responsible use of artificial intelligence. Do you have any questions? Anything I can hopefully?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Let me try to summarize it. The policy that we're using or putting forth for you at this time, which is certainly going to change as things evolve, is one that is directed, allowable use of AI under proper direction and supervision. Mm-hmm. That's what we're proposing. There's a lot of language in there. There's a lot of lines in there, but if I could summarize it, it is the allowable use of AI with direction for the intended use of student learning. The other policy would be to say we're banning it. Don't think that that's the right way to go for kids. We don't think that's the right way to go to prepare a digital citizen. We don't think that's the right way to go as an educational organization. We're taking our first step into this. I think there needs to be a ton more work done in terms of promulgating this to parent groups, to staff, to administrators, to the community. But I think it's time that we start engaging in this conversation and engaging in it frequently because it's moving at light speed. So, to the bottom line is you'll see a policy in your board packet. It will come up for your vote next 2 weeks from now. My strong recommendation would be that you would table it so that we get it on the books, get it going, table it, open it up for a month, make sure, hopefully people hear this, we'll talk about it, promote it. People could have questions, people could object to it, but I want to be clear, it is use of AI with direction and oversight by staff. It is not to ban the use of it because we're trying to prepare a digital citizen. That's my summary of it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
We do have an agenda review. I'll let Ray take a moment to pop it on the screen. The meeting is 2 weeks from this evening. We do not have a meeting next week. That is a voting meeting in 2 weeks. At the voting meeting, you have your normal matters. There are no bids to approve. I'm going to ask Maria to get ready to do personnel reports. Are you ready, Maria? There aren't any presentations for any 7 o'clock presentations, but we do have a personnel report for you to have a first look at right now. Yep. While Maria's moving and distributing, I will tell you that she has already begun to look at the 25-26 calendar. As we turn the new year, it's her turn to look at the calendar for next year, working with the union leaders. So that hopefully will be coming to you in March.
Sue, if you would like to start with the certificated report. Everything is very light right now. You will have some additions next, well, in 2 weeks, you'll have some additions, but we'll start with the probationary appointment of an ELL teacher at Niagara Falls High School. Moving on to page 2 of 10, we have.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. So we lost an ENL teacher and we replaced one. Is this the additional one?
This is the additional one.
So I want to be clear about that. We are adding an ENL teacher
Yes.
Because of the additional students that require service hours, mainly at Niagara Falls High School. I'm looking at the administrators, mainly at Niagara Falls High School to meet the service hours. The children that are entering there need a lot of service time, so we needed to add an ESL teacher. Thank you, Maria.
Right. And then on page 2 of 10, the second name down is the teacher that we hired to replace
Thank
the
you.
ELL teacher that we lost.
I should never get ahead of her. We did have a teacher leave us, and Maria's good work found a replacement and the one we needed to add.
Right. So we have replaced the teacher. We've also replaced a couple of retirees with some regular subs. Those positions will be filled at the end of the year, but because those folks left mid-year, we replaced them with regular subs, so you're seeing those names right there at this point. We have a teacher leaving to go on special assignment. That's the last name there under that last regular sub. So that is a kindergarten teacher at Bonigo Bond, and you'll see her voluntary transfer at the bottom of the page. That person is going from being a kindergarten teacher to being a math AIS teacher. And then you have on page 3 of 10, you have a TSA moving to another TSA position, and you have a leave of absence. This is for educational purposes, and it's without pay. And this is part of our Grow Your Own program. I'd like to note here, part of our Grow Your Own program is that we offer a scholarship. Other parts of the Grow Your Own program are that we work to offer the individual flexible time to complete their degree. So this individual is on the pathway to becoming a teacher, and Mr. Laurie is recommending to you that we offer her the ability to take that educational leave without pay. Then you're going to see per diem and schedule pay all the way through the last page of this document, which is 10 pages long. And we are going to be adding a couple of positions. I believe Mr. Laurie has spoken to you about them. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, we're getting close.
By the next.
I want to talk about page 3 of 10, the leave of absent names and the effective dates there. I want to emphasize a point here, not necessarily on the person, but on the thinking. We are continually looking to hire teachers that reflect our students in terms of race. And this is a Grow Your Own candidate, as Ms. Massaro mentioned. And we are, in this case, accommodating this person by allowing her to miss days, unpaid, to finish her college, with the hopes that she'll soon turn around to be an educator for us. So it's another example of how we're trying to work to hire, in this case, black and brown teachers to reflect our students by giving them release time. Of course, it's without pay. We can't pay them. But to allow her to finish her college so she can turn around and teach our kids. That's the importance I want to place on that.
She's a Niagara Falls High School product and class of 2006 member, so Yeah, I think it's a.
I also want to add, she did pass calculus. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, she is. That was a good class, but
Real shady in here right now.
she's a homegrown talent, and we want to honor homegrown talent. So I'm not trying to overemphasize this individual. I'm trying to make a point about the depths that Maria will go to try to fulfill that philosophy. That's all.
Okay, any questions about the certificated report? Because we'll move on to the classified report then. Go ahead. Oh, somebody gonna we have a resignation of a nurse. Go ahead, Mr. Lurie.
No, it's tough when nurses are tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. The nursing world and the school world are tough. You know that. They're tough.
This was a tough one. We were hoping that this person would come back and join us, but she was unable to do so. And then as you're going through, we have some we have a probationary appointment of a food service helper. I did speak to Kevin this evening, and this person is doing a very great job. She just started on the 7th, and she's doing fantastic. Change of status for some individuals who are going from probationary to permanent based upon their evaluations and Mr. Lurie's recommendation. We also have a nurse who's going to a 12-month position. We have 2 12-month nurses in our district. One of the 12-month nurses recently retired, so this individual is the person who's taking over the 12-month position.
That's because we went to that a couple years ago because we have so many summer programs. And instead of paying them stipends, we wanted to lock them in for our summer work.
And that's your classified report. Again, there'll be some additions for your next meeting.
Yeah. Questions on the personnel?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. It's the calm before your storm. Moving ahead, I would like to go through these short-term contracts with you so that we can be very clear about their purpose, where the money comes from, and why they're here. And of course, I'll ask Rick to assist me. The first one is what Mr. Rotello was referring to. This is a short-term contract with Niagara University. The F code means we're getting the money from a grant. This is to pay for students to take 2 sociology college courses. And the money is an F code, as I said, from a grant. The second individual is what I would refer to as a pass-through contract. This is the community development arm of the city of Niagara Falls, is able to give endowments for different projects. This money has to go to a school district because the work is being done around children. We are the recipient of the money. The money comes from the community development arm of the city of Niagara Falls. There was a lengthy resolution last month, and then the money passes through for the services to the individual who is running a tutoring program. That's how that works. So that is an F code that we established, and the money comes from the city of Niagara Falls, who has to disperse it to an educational institution, and being in the city, we're the only one that I recognize, it comes through us. DNF travel is what the Gaskill, this amount is not paid by the district. This is the cost of the trip for the Gaskill students, right? The Gaskill students go to Washington, D.C. This is the cost, but we do, in this case, have Maria look at the contract, the language, to make sure that what DNF travel is doing is right, safe, and appropriate for kids. The number 4, Jenna Hayden, is a nurse practitioner who is giving us additional assistance while we have a nurse practitioner out. And the reason we need to hire her is because we are able to bill to the state and federal government for Medicaid reimbursement. But our Medicaid reimbursement billing for speech and language needs to be overseen by a licensed nurse practitioner. Being down a nurse practitioner, it would put a really heavy burden on our single nurse practitioner to go through all these scripts and sign off on them and make sure that they're in good order. So we're asking to bring on a temporary or part-time nurse practitioner for assistance, and her role mainly is to review the Medicaid scripts so that we're in good compliance. As an aside, that process nets us over $1 million. And we want to make sure that nothing is out of whack or nothing is passed through without the proper licensing on it. So to not overburden our current single nurse practitioner, we're asking for some assistance to get those scripts reviewed. Number 5 is some assistive technology for an exceptional student that we have in the district. This exceptional needs student needs some assistive technology to help him or her get through their schooling, and we need to bring in the University of Buffalo to help train the teacher in how to use that assistive technology for that exceptional student. 6 and 7 come from Mr. Carella's office. They both are F codes, as you see by the letter F, 2110. The first one is I believe this is for our prep school students, Rick, and it's for reading analysis at the prep schools. Am I correct?
It's for the teachers.
For the teachers.
For the teachers who are using a special intervention program.
Thank you, Rick. Our prep school teachers are using a special intervention program, and this is training, and it's paid for from a grant. And number 7 is training for our administrators. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes.
Number 8 is training that we will do with, I believe, high school physical education teachers on the 27th of January, when it is a superintendent's conference day.
It's for all.
All phys ed teachers, not just high school teachers, okay? Number 9, there is a new requirement for our wrestlers. And I think it's a good one. Sometimes wrestlers try to lose weight quickly to meet a wrestling category. And there is something called hydration testing that has to be done on our wrestlers, so somebody's not losing a lot of weight in a short period of time, risking their health. So we needed to hire a hydration testing specialist beyond what Tony Cerise can do, and that's what that's for. That's for hydration testing of wrestlers. It has already begun, in all honesty, the board members, that we had to start that with the wrestling season to make sure that no one was, I guess they call it cutting weight. I haven't learned that art yet, but that's what the wrestlers have to do. 10, we actually, Mr. Ruffalo and Mr. Ventry have been working with our cheerleaders, and we want to, remember, our cheerleaders don't just cheer at games, they also compete. And in order to increase their competition skills, we are bringing in an outside consultant to help them with tumbling and all the other activities that we may not be expert in, or Mr. Ventry might not be expert in. So we're looking to bring in an outside consultant to help them with tumbling. And number 11 is the Bolodrome. That's what we pay for our girls and boys team. I guess the boys team is doing well. The girls team is doing good, Ed? Yes. And also, remember, we have unified bowling too. So we use Bolodrome as our home lanes for our team. And we want to make sure Ed's daughter gets ready to win the states this year. So we'd like you to approve that for our matches and for our practices. And of course, it's great to see the unified kids out there too. So that's the bill that we pay to Bolodrome. Those are our short-term contracts. I don't anticipate any additional ones, and those are the reasons. 601, 2, 3, and 4 are grants that we're receiving. This is money that we're getting. 601 is a grant of $395,000 that I wish we weren't getting. This is money, correct, Rick? This is money for our targeted schools. If we had no targeted schools or weren't a targeted district, we wouldn't receive this money. I hope to eliminate this grant. But we do have the opportunity to get $395,000. We're going to take it and help move our 3 schools off the targeted list. 602 is a $500,000 grant, $500,000 for mental health supports. 603 is more mental health support, $727,700 $799 for mental health programs. And 604 is a small grant of $6,000 for an early childhood program. So at this meeting, we're going to ask you to accept, outside of your general fund budget, $1,628,799 beyond your general budget with just these 4 grants that we're receiving. 605, 606, and 607, it's that time again where we have to appoint the code of conduct, the district code of conduct, and the school-wide code of conduct. I think most of you at the table have been around. You know, we appoint them. They meet in February and March and April, and then in May, we bring you back the code of conduct. It's that time again to appoint them. That's what we're doing here. I really charge Maria with overseeing those committees, but they're comprised of teachers, parents, students, administrators, and our fire chief and our police chief also serve on those committees, so that our codes are up to speed and we're copacetic. 608 is to extend Hogel, which is better known as F-Bites. The high school and the prep schools send our students to the cantina and other places where they get pathways instruction. I think Ms. Dunn had the opportunity to run into the group one time at an event, and I was really pleased that you saw our kids working there, but that's what this does. Now, I just said that you're going to ask you to accept the mental health grant. Things like Hogel can be paid for out of a mental health grant because it helps kids stay engaged and focused. So I just want to be, as we're coming on budget time, I want to be real specific about general fund and other budgets. Just as 609 is, 609 is for a clinical social worker, she's also a pastor, Ms. Brooks, to do girls groups at a number of schools. She's excellent and does a number of school girls groups. And again, that's mental health grant payable. 610 is for Head Start. This is for best self counseling for Head Start families. That's paid for by the Head Start grant. Judy's just really starting to wind up because 611 designates the day of her, the hours for and places for registering, personal registration, and that you're allowing her to publish notices for the May 20th board election and budget vote. 612 is one change. We have one change order this month. I know that this was shared with Mr. Petrosi. We're considering this unforeseen. The change order is for $5,252.81. I'm going to do my best, but my right and left arm, Mr. Smeal, aren't here today, so I'm going to try, in his honor, to tell you that.
You can't do it in his voice.
I'll do it in his voice. Okay, I'll try. Let me try that, Tony. All right. If I may. I hope he's watching. If I may, we had an unforeseen condition at 79th Street School when they were when they were building the secured vestibule. They took the ceiling down and found out that an open firewall did not extend all the way to the top of the ceiling, and by code it has to. So we didn't know that. We're giving the architect credit as an unforeseen. They probably would have had to take the ceiling apart, which they didn't do. So I am going to count this in the unforeseen category. And they had to pay. To extend the code necessary firewall. Does that sound right, Russ?
Yes, but actually the code changed.
Oh, okay.
Once they opened up the wall, they had to follow the new code, and they also had to wrap the beam for fire. That was the addition.
Yeah, I may add, Mr. Petrosi's right, and in closing my spiel as Earl Smeal, I will tell you that not for the minutes, because that's what he tells us all the time, not for the minutes, but you're right. So that's the end of my Earl Smeal impersonation. But it is one, I see his godfather woke up over there. That is one change order. And let me tell you, members of the board, to our contractors, we're at about 1% change orders that weren't owned or requested. So it's really good, really good. 613 through 617 are payments for the capital projects. Just so you know, the capital, and I won't go through all of them, the payments have all been vetted, the work has been done satisfactorily, the contractors are working, we need to pay them monthly. If you approve these in 2 weeks, 74% of the payment of the money of the $29.3 million will have been issued. So you can see how close we're getting to it. We're really, really getting close to the end of this project. Air conditioning should be wrapping up, greenhouse should be wrapping up, vestibules should be wrapping up, except for the 4 that haven't started.
Quick question,
Yeah.
Mr. Lord?
Sure.
How are we doing with the new transformers from National Grid?
I'm going to say no comment. We have a call with National Grid tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'll have a better answer at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I don't have an update. Since you asked, and I think it's appropriate, it's the only worry I have on this job.
I didn't mean to bring up.
No, I think you should know that. I think everyone. No, I'm glad you brought it up. The project has gone exceedingly well, and I'm keeping faith in making sure that we have those drawings. These, what Mr. Pareto is referring to, I believe, are the transformer needs that we have from National Grid to actually electrify Gaskill and LaSalle.
Didn't we say last time that they said April?
The date, yes, I did. Thank you for remembering. The date is April 12th.
So am I assuming that they may be wavering on that?
I don't know if they're wavering. We told them they can't waver, and I'll tell you what we told them. But we don't have the costs and the final drawings. So that's why the call's coming tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And again, I'm not trying to call out any company here, but if you ask me of that $30 million, that's the only thing I'm worried about. But you're right, Mr. Bilson, it's April 12th. It'll take to the end of the month to make sure everything's working great, and hopefully we'll have we'll hopefully ceremonially flip the air conditioning switch May 1st. That's the deadline we gave them. But I'm glad you asked the question. I'm giving you the honest answer. We hope they're moving, but we haven't seen the final documents yet. And I would not hold that truth from you. But we do have a call planned tomorrow with the executive director, the CEO. I'm not sure what his exact title is, but he's the head guy. So let me tell you why it's important. It's important because we promised the community. It's important because we want the kids to be cool. But it's also important for the flow of our money. We have to submit, you know how we get the aid. If we don't get this done on a timeline, we can't submit the final cost reports. Becky can't get the 98% back in the timely way to manage the budget. So there's a lot riding on this. And that's why we're very intent on this phone call tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I will give you, I promise you I'll keep you posted, but I would be less than forthcoming if I told you everything was approved right now. Last thing, we submitted the documentation March 15th, 2023. Just so you know the timing of when it was submitted. March 15th, 2023. Just so you know. So we'll get it done. I know we'll get it done. We got to think positively. We'll get it done. Last resolution, Maria brings these to you twice a year. These are property damage claims under the contracts that we are obligated to pay if certain conditions are met. In this case, This individual, the payment is $500. This individual's car was damaged, criminally damaged at G.J. Mann School. I'll leave the criminal part about that off there, but this is a $500 claim for this person. Maria, is that correct?
Well, the claim was actually more than that, but.
Could you bring your microphone?
The deductible piece was the $500, so the board pays out the
All right, so this is the deductible part of it.
Yes.
We pay the deductible part of it. That's what this is. And this excellent teacher's car was damaged, and we want to make sure that we make her whole here. It's the only one we have. The next time, let's hope we don't have to bring any of these forward again. We would bring them in June. So that's been our procedure. We bring them in January and June, and unfortunately, we had to bring this one forward. And we'll pay the $500. 701 is the artificial intelligence policy. I'm going to respectfully ask that you ask for tabling of that policy when it comes up. If you move ahead a little bit in the meeting, can you believe it's February? It's hard to fathom that we're showing a February agenda. I can't believe it. At any rate, we're going to have we're making a pretty significant change for our pre-K to 2 students, and we're moving to Apple products for them. So on that evening, the 13th, I want to have a full demonstration by Ray, Ed Maynard, Dave St. Ange, all our technology integrators. This has been piloted at 79th Street School and a couple of other places. But we are going to move forward with a BOCES purchase for Apple products for our youngest students. But we want to show you these products before we engage in this purchase. If once we approve this, they'll go into production. We probably will get them at near the end of this school year. There'll probably need to be some staff development, but they'll definitely be in teacher and kids' hands September 1st. But we want to show these to you first. I think they're rather nice. I think they really fit perfectly for our pre-K to 2 students. Then, on the 13th, we'll have a budget presentation from the team of Jacqueline and Holiday, or Holiday and Jacqueline, and I'll be very quiet during that. No, I won't. You know I won't. You know I love that. You know I love that. Then there's a meeting on the 27th. We'll do the budget. We're going to do the budget starting at the next meeting, we're going to do the budget every meeting. Now, Ray, could you pull up the meeting of the 23rd? Thanks, Ray. So on the 23rd, this is the budget. You can see it's the second agenda item. This will start every meeting, some discussion around the 25-26 budget. As a matter of fact, Becky, Julie, and I are going to have a pre-meeting on Wednesday. Then the entire team, we're going to meet on Thursday to prepare for you on the following Thursday. Just so you all know, the governor is required by law to release her education runs by district on January 21st. So we maybe, we're going to start with that shell and build and build and build and build. But I promise you it will be on one piece of paper. And we do need to go through a couple of new Head Start regulations that you need to be aware of. So we're going to invite Dr. Lynette and maybe Richard Schwartfager to present that night, because there are some new Head Start regulations that you need to be aware of, because you are the ultimate governing body of Head Start. I know maybe Richard will take the lead on that. I'm not sure. We'll see. We've got to warn him tomorrow, Becky. That's it. That's our picture for the rest of this month. If you don't have any questions, I have very few announcements, but if there's questions, I'll take them. Fire away. A little bit of a personal story, but also a real positive story, and certainly Mr. Bass has led this. I watch with sadness the fires in California. It's very, very sad, and what those firefighters have to do. My brother lives 13 miles away from the fire, so we've been in pretty close contact. close contact with him. He's fine. He'll be fine. But it's really sad and really scary. But what I wanted to say was, I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Pareto and Mr. Contento, our fine athletic director. Their sons were adjudicated as firemen this week. And what I wanted to say about both of those young men is they're Niagara Falls High School graduates. And I think it's really honorable, both the young Mr. Pareto and young Mr. Contento, who came through our school system to get into a field like that, and you can see the risk that all of our firefighters take. So I wanted to, especially in light of what we're seeing and praying for in California, but I want to thank those two young men and their fathers, who are, you know, leaders in the district. So congratulations, Tony, and congratulations to Joe Contento too. They were 2 of the 6 in the class that just was awarded for Niagara Falls. So it's an honorable profession, and I'm glad our students are becoming firefighters. It's awesome. I want to congratulate a young lady. Her name is Emma Ponzi. Emma, I think, is she a 9th grader? Emma is a 9th grader at Niagara Falls High School. Emma is the Western New York Athletics Athlete of the Week. She is a 9th grader. She's ranked 21st in the state, and she is a member of the Niagara Falls High School Niagara Wheatfield wrestling team. And to get that, I know you got that too, Ms. Villardo, to see that Emma was getting awarded says a lot about her, and she comes from really good parents. They came through Gaskill, going to Niagara Falls High School, Maple Gaskill, and then Niagara Falls High School, and she's one of our, I think we have about 8, I don't know how many there. We have about 10 to 12 female wrestlers. We don't have enough to have our own team, so we are paired still with Niagara Wheatfield. And Niagara Wheatfield has some really good wrestlers. So I'm proud that we're doing that for our young ladies, and I congratulate Emma. The last congratulations and last announcement I have is that Niagara Falls High School, LaSalle, and Gaskill sent 42 students to Tech Wars yesterday at SUNY Niagara. They competed in robotics and bridge building. And wouldn't you know it, we took 1st and 2nd place. And all the, and there were 40 teams. So wouldn't you know it, Niagara Falls High School did it again. I wanted to thank the following coaches: Max Teller, Ed Wisniewski, Madison Del Porto, Richard Clark, Alan Stockings, Thomas Wymuth, Rich Venator, Mike McGrath, for taking the students and training the students and teaching the students robotics and bridge building, and of course, 1st and 2nd place. So on that positive note. Board members, thank you. I thought Niagara Falls High School showed out again with what they're doing, and I thought that we opened the door to a very topical and important topic in AI, and I'm pretty satisfied that we'll continue to have that grow and keep you informed of that. And I do respect the question that Mr. Pareto posed, and I will give you a report tomorrow as to the status of our phone call on the electrical service for the 2 buildings. Mr. President, members of the board, that is all that I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Thank you all for coming, and good night, and good luck to whatever team you're rooting for in the Orange Bowl.
The Bills, stop it, Russ.
You're right, the Bills
Go
on
Bills.
Sunday. The Bills on Sunday.
Yeah, you got Penn State. No, I like that sweater too.